Well, let's talk about building a complete home lab environment with QNAP. Few things that kind of sets QNAP apart. I get a lot of requests for product reviews from enthusiasts and home lab guys about our products. So we figured, let's make this a topic and let's talk about what sets us apart. So a few things that that QNAP has that is very good for folks who want to set up a home lab. Of course, our NASs are cross-platform. So you can pretty much use if you're Windows person or a Mac person, you could it's cross-platform for all OSs. Also, a lot of our NASs are either 10 gig ready or 10 gig built-in. We have affordable NASs starting from our home, some of our home models that have ports. Also secure access to your data. So QNAP supports several secure protocols like FTP, HTTPS, SSH, SFTP. Unparalleled performance, along with you have a different variety of processors from Intel to AMD Ryzen processors, Intel iCore processors for the SMB kind of sweet spot. We have different RAM options, connectivity options, as I previously mentioned, and also our NAS supports SSD for caching and tiering. Also virtualization ready. QNAP, most of our NAS is from our Intel series and up, kind of from home. Intel NAS, you can run Virtualization Station, also VMware. Another thing, I'm sorry, a little housekeeping. If you could please mute your microphones during the workshop. We're going to have some Q&A sessions in between. We're going to have part 1 and part 2 at the end. If you can unmute your microphone and ask us any questions. So if you could, for the meantime, if you don't mind, please mute your microphones, and we would greatly appreciate that. Kind of back to the topics. Also, Container Station. We have Container Station for lightweight virtualization. Also, you can run a private cloud, so you can access all of your data through QNAP Cloud. And also, our different network now, our different network components that we have. We give you all the tools to build a complete home lab environment. We have our networks with, our switches and our routers. So we have a lot of cool stuff that kind of a one-stop shop for your home lab environment. So for today, we will be talking about.
We'll be talking about Container Station first, and then virtualization after, right?
I don't have access. Can you show the screen?
Sure. 1 second.
Sorry about that. So our workshop agenda today, we'll be talking about different virtualizing various applications using Virtualization Station and Container Station. Part 2, we'll be talking about understanding how to use QNAP as your backup destination for your computers, for your Macs, for your VMs, and more. Then we will have a quick Q&A, a quick 15-minute Q&A. So any questions that we had, any questions on the topics we had for part 1 and part 2, you'd ask away there. So there, you can unmute your microphones there to make it a little more interactive. You can ask us questions throughout the workshop as well. If you have any questions, you can also chat them away on the chat in the chat box. Part 3, we'll be talking about QNAP NAS for multimedia server, so organize your media files. And lastly, we'll be talking about securely access your data and applications on your QNAP NAS remotely. So that will be getting into the QNAP Cloud portion of the workshop. And then we will have another Q&A, and we'll get you on your way as soon as possible. So without any further ado, let's get started with part 1.
All right, thank you very much, Eric. Let me share my screen first. All right, good morning, everybody. My name is Deval. I'm the product manager here at QNAP. So today, as Eric mentioned, we'll be discussing a home lab, like how QNAP can be a great tool for your home lab if you're running some applications within your home, like Active Directory servers, DNS server, DHCP servers, or any other services like web services, any other services, or if you want to just mine like crypto coins as well. QNAP can be a great tool to assist you with those applications, right? So first, we're going to talk about this Container Station. QNAP, not recently, but QNAP always had virtualization available on quite an older firmware as well, so you can run virtual machines off of the QNAP for a very long time. But some time ago, QNAP introduced Container Station. Container Station is an application that you can install on your QNAP with um, using App Center. So, and actually Container Station is also available for ARM-based units. So if you have an ARM unit, you can actually, on many ARM units, you can actually run Container Station, because again, Container Station is a very lightweight uh, device or application that can run applications on top of the QNAP, right? So you have App Center that can actually run that we have many applications that you can already run natively with the QNAP. So if you have any, so these are the applications that we already have. If you look at all apps, there are many applications that you can actually choose between on the QNAP already. But if you do not have certain applications, another way to run applications on top of the QNAP is through Container Stations. There are many through Container Stations right here. Container Station, again, the major difference between Container Station and Virtualization Station is virtualization. When you want to run an application on virtualization, you have to install a VM, right? A guest operating system on top of the QNAP. And then within that guest operating system, you're going to be running another application that serves your purpose, right? So if you're running an Active Directory server, so you have to actually install a Windows 80 server within the QNAP as a VM. And then on top of that, you're going to be running Active Directory, because Active Directory requires a lot of dependencies from Windows side, so it cannot be run as a container. But there are a lot of applications that can actually run independently that do not require a guest OS, and that's where Container Station can come into play. Container Station allows you to run applications that are very lightweight and they don't have much dependency. So they're self-contained applications that you can run on top of the QNAP, and they don't require any other OS or anything running behind it. So they can run on top of the QNAP directly. So so comparing that with virtualization takes a lot of resources, because it actually has to run the guest operating system. So going back to my previous example, if you're running an AD server, you actually have to run an Active Directory. So you have to run a Windows server operating system like Windows 2012, Windows 2016, Windows 2019. Now that operating system already takes some of your resources from your QNAP already, and then you run AD server on top of that. Again, that's taking a lot. That's taking more resources, right? With Container Station, it actually not running. Also, going back to the VM part, QNAP also is running its own application OS, right? So QNAP OS is running, and then you're running hypervisor, and then you're running like your Windows operating system, and then you're running Active Directory. So there are a lot of resources that are running in between that's taking up your CPU and memory usage. With Container Station, you're actually running the QNAP OS, which is already there, obviously, and then you're going to be running a container and Container Station, and then just running your application. So a few applications that we already have, a lot of applications that you can actually run within the QNAP. So right here, you have a list of applications that I actually run. A few applications that I do run myself is Home Assistance, which is a smart home application that you can run within the QNAP. And once you install this application, you can run you can just control your smart home applications. So you can control your TV, audio devices, and Plex server. You can control all of that using Home Assistance. But a lot of different applications you can choose between. You can actually run your own web server using Joomla and other applications as well. You can run operating system on top of that as well, like Ubuntu, CentOS. You can run all of that as well. And then and you can create your own applications within the QNAP. And there are a lot of third-party registry that QNAP can also support. Like, for example, QNAP UK recently introduced how to run Chia Mining software within the QNAP, and that was a lot of we received a lot of questions about how to run that applications within the QNAP. So with today's demo, I'm gonna actually show you how to run a Docker that for Chia Mining basically. So right here, I already have mining software or mining that's going on already on my QNAP NAS, and you can see it's taking up 3% resource and 34% memory. And it's only running basically one plot. So it's actually running one plot. So it's not taking too much resources. I'm just running it as one plot. But you can actually run multiple plots, so you can actually take more resources. So basically, to start again to run a container. For example, a Chia Mining software, you first have to look for an image. So you're gonna pull up an image from from a third-party registry. So QNAP already gives you Docker Hub and LDX image server as a registry. But Chia Mining software is not available on those registries. So you have to actually add a new registry. To add a new registry, you just have to type the name of that registry. So for Chia Mining is ghrc.io, and then I think you have to type the address of that registry. So ghrc.io. Once you have done that, just hit test to make sure that's GHCR. So ghcr.io, http://ghrcr.io. I already have one registry, it's not going to allow me to add it. The name can be anything. I'm just giving it a grch. So I'm going to test it. You're going to see it's confirmed it. And then once it's confirmed it, that registry is now added. Now you can actually pull a lot of images from that registry. So for Chia Mining software, I think you can just type network-chia/ I think it was chia-network and then /chia. And then once you type that registry, you can just hit pull. The QNAP will go ahead and pull that registry from that Docker from the registry. It's going to start downloading the registry on your QNAP. Once you have done that, it's going to show up the image right here. And once you have the image downloaded already, we can start installing that. We can start installing, or we can run that Docker directly. So once you have installed it, we're going to start running the Docker. Now, doesn't matter. This is the example I'm giving you today is for Chia Mining, but you can actually the steps that I'm going to show you. So right now I'm going to create a container out of this. So the steps I'm going to show you, it will remain the same for all other containers as well. So if you have other Dockers and containers, the steps I'm going to show you now, it's going to remain the same. Now for Chia Mining, there are a few things that are already prepared on my QNAP. So for Chia Mining, you actually create a plot, right? The plot creation, or where it's searching for the point, the plot creation actually requires a lot of resources from the QNAP. So my QNAP already has NVMe SSDs, and I have regular hard drives. So what I'm doing is I have created two different volumes. One is on my NVMe drives, which is a static volume right here, and one is on my hard drive, which is my hard drive right here. So when it's creating the plot, because it's taking a lot of resources, I want that to run on my SSD drive. Okay, and once the plot is created, it can then transfer that information onto my regular hard drive, and it can free up my SSDs so you can run more plots on the container station. So that is why I have created two different volumes. So if I look at my file station, I've created two different folders. One is under hard drive, I've created Chia plot HDD, which has the plots directory. I've created this directory before this demo. I already created another folder on my SSD drives, which is the 10 folder and the keys folder. Now keys folder, the reason I've created it is that you need to have a wallet, right? So you need to create a wallet. Now you can have the Chia Mining the container create a wallet for you, or if you have your own wallet, or if you're running a farm with multiple QNAPs or multiple different servers, you're just running another container on the QNAP, you can use the existing wallet. The only thing you need to do is you need to go to a Windows computer. You need to create a text document. Just open up Notepad, and then just I think I have an example right here. So open up a Notepad and just create a file called keys, and just put in your wallet information right here. So you have wallet, which I think it has 12 different words, right? You just have to put in that words in here, followed by a space. And once you have copied, so right here I have the key 1, key 2, key 3, key 4. This is just different words. So you have I think 12 words that a wallet has. So once you have to enter all these words in the wallet on this particular text document, and just save it as txt document, and just copy that document on the QNAP and the file station under the keys folder. So under keys folder, you're going to copy that document right here, and then just leave that as it is. Okay, so so this is the things that I've done already on my QNAP. Now I'm going to start creating the container from that image file. So to create a container, just click on plus. As I mentioned before, no matter what container or Docker you're going to be running, the steps I'm going to show you will still remain the same for all the containers. Some are specific for this Chia Mining software, but everything else remains the same as well. So when you start running a Docker container on the QNAP, you can control how much CPU you want the container or Docker to use. So you can actually control the CPU usage just like a VM, right? You can control how many cores you want to give. On here, you can actually limit how much CPU usage this particular container can run on, and then also you can limit the memory usage as well on the QNAP. And if you want to run this as on startup, you can make sure this box is checked. Automatically is by default is checked. So when you reboot the NAS, when the NAS is booted back up, the QNAP will open a container station, will start running this container automatically. So you don't have to come back to the container station run the container as well. Now this container requires a lot of environment. So by default, everything if you're not sure what to change, just leave everything by default here. Or you can also change anything specific. For this particular demo, I'm going to show there are two things you need to worry about: the keys. So if you want to generate a new key for you, if you want the container to generate a new key for you, just leave this at generate. Or if you want to if you're using an existing key, just have to make sure you type in chia-key. Now don't worry, this is not an actual folder. I'm going to show you where the actual folder are mapped from. So we're going to do that later. So right here, I'm going to just have it generate a new key for me. And then on the pods directory, you have to make sure it says /pods. Okay. And then under shared folder, this is where we're going to be mentioning where the folders would be at. So if you so this is a volume from host. So if a container requires an access to a folder on your NAS, you have to add that folder here. So click on add button right here. You can choose the folder right here. And then you're gonna select the folder, which is I'm gonna select the Chia HDD, and then the plots, and then just put in that /plot. So this is the actual folder that you have to actually create. Sorry, you're gonna map these folders on the container. So right here under environment, if you see the plots, it's gonna look up the plots directory right here, which is mapped to this particular folder on the QNAP. So make sure it's reading right. And if you want to add another folder, you just click on add, and then just add another folder right here. So that's the plot. I'm going to have the keys folder. And then you're going to put chia-keys if you're using an existing if you're going to be using an existing keys already. So once you've mapped all that folder, you're going to click on create. But the few things I want to show you is let's say if you want to run an existing device, you can actually run sound devices or video rendering devices on the QNAP as well. If the container requires that, you can also do network as well. On the networking, you have to make sure you can the three different options. You can run it as NAT, so it's going to run on its own network. You can also use the host option, but remember, when you use the host, it's going to use the NAS's IP, so it may create a conflict because it's using the NAS's IP. Or you want to have that container run on your network, you can also change this bridge and then select which network you want it to run on, and the container will act as another network device on the network on that QNAP. So you can change the host name right here. I'm going to just leave it as NAT because that doesn't require to be run on the network. So once you have done all of that, we're going to just click on create. It's going to start creating the container on the QNAP itself. So if you go to overview, it's going to start containing, you already created the container. Now to access the command line, so you have to open up the terminal option right here, and then just type bin/sh, and it's going to show you the command line. So now here you can actually run some commands on the QNAP. Now if you do not remember any of the commands, or if you want to go back and look up this particular video as well, we're going to upload this video onto YouTube, and on that YouTube video, we're going to actually under description, we can actually point it to the original QNAP UK video that actually shows you in much detail on how to run Chia Mining software on the QNAP. So don't worry about it. Just see a brief overview of how to run Chia Mining here or any of the containers. But you will have a YouTube video to refer to back again. So once you have this open, you can actually run some few commands right here. So so actually I have some commands right here. So to look up any information, or actually to run a plotting, you have to actually run a command which is VENV, which is environment slash Chia and plots. So we're going to be creating a plot right here, and then hit create, and then /k, which is the default size of 32. Oh, I think I hit enter. So let's try it again. VENV /bin /chia, and then plots create /k 32, which is the default size, and then the buffer size. You have to actually mention the buffer size. By default, it's 8,000, so we recommend that. And then end number of plots you want to run on the QNAP. So I'm going to start with just one plot, but you can actually run up to 10 or 15 different plots depending on what the QNAP actually you're using and how much CPU, how much mining the CPU can handle. So I'm going to just run one plot right here just as an example. And then you have to run, you have to give him the temporary directive, which is chia temp on the QNAP, and then once the plot is created, where does it want to store that information? So we're gonna put in the under plots that is on the QNAP. Once you have done that, hit enter. It's gonna start. It's gonna start that particular plotting. So once it starts plotting, you can actually close this window, and you're gonna see the CPU usage actually increase right here. So it's starting the plotting right here. You can actually run another plotting. So let's say if you want to, because the CPU usage is quite low, I can actually run another plot as well. So again, same command line. So VENV /bin /chia, and then plots create -k 32-b, which is the buffer size 8,000. Number of plots. I'm gonna just I'm gonna run another plot. This will be an additional plot again, and then -t chia temp directory, and then -d plots directory. I think I made a mistake in the command line. So let's try that again. VENV /bin /chia plots create -k 32 -b 8,000 -n space 1 -p chia temp -d plots.
I see what you did the first time.
Hmm?
I see what you did the first
Yeah,
time.
I think that I missed the plot. So it's now again another plot has started running on the QNAP. If you go back in the CPU research, it should actually didn't make much of a difference. So you can actually run this NAS. This is an 872X. Basically, it's an i3 process. It actually can handle much more plots on the QNAP. So you actually see it did increase a little bit more, from 40% to almost 50%. So as the menu actually add more plots, you can actually see it's going to increase more CPU resources on the QNAP. So you can start running more plots on the QNAP itself. Okay. So that is how you can actually run any container on the QNAP. This is just an example of running Chia Mining software. Actually, the CPU resources, I forgot, is right here actually. So right here in the CPU resource monitor, you can actually see the CPU resources right here on the QNAP. So as you can see, it's going to start running the containers. And if you can see, it can actually run much more plots on the QNAP once the plots are created. If you're actually lucky enough to get more, you can actually lucky enough to get any coins, it'll be stored in the plots directly on the QNAP itself under the HDD. So again, that's how simple it is to run a container. This is just an example of running a Chia Mining software, but you can actually run any containers. Again, you can go to create, and then you can have a lot more containers that you can actually run on the QNAP. Home assistance is another option, as I mentioned before. Again, make sure you can run different applications as well on the QNAP. If you have a GPU, you can actually run. You can actually provide a GPU pass-through. Your container requires a GPU access for any AI software that you're running on the QNAP, that if you install a GPU, it's going to show up right here as a GPU, and you can hit add and just show that GPU. If it's an NVIDIA GPU, you can actually show NVIDIA GPU, and you can actually have the container take advantage of the GPU resources on the QNAP or graphic card, and the container can actually take advantage of having video rendering as well. So that's how easy it is to run like Chia Mining or actually any container on the QNAP. I think we have just one question right here. So if you guys have any further, if you have any questions, unmute yourself as well, and then you can ask any questions quick, or if you have any questions, put it in the chat window. You can always go through it and ask them. All right, so let's continue.
Give you what QNAP has the option of running actual virtualization or lightweight virtualization with container stations. So part two, we're going to get into understanding how to use your QNAP NAS as a backup destination for your computers, your Macs, and your VMs. Again, this is a topic we've discussed a few times before, but again, it can never be discussed enough. So, for your home lab, you want a backup destination for all of your, all of your different computers and devices. We give you a really easy way to do a backup. So,
we missed a part on the QNAP on the.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was jumping into part two already. So, sorry about that. I was all right. There's one more actual part. There's one more part to part one.
All right. So another part that we after container station, another part that I'm going to show you today would be virtualization station. So you can actually run virtual machines on top of the QNAP, but using hypervisor. So you actually have virtualization station that you can actually install within the QNAP, and you can actually run multiple VMs of the QNAP itself. So right here, I have a virtualization that's running my Active Directory server. So many examples I can actually run within the virtual machine. Again, as best example I can give is Active Directory. You can run your own DHCP server, DNS server, and SQL servers that you can actually run within the QNAP that you can run on top of the VMs. So those are applications you can actually run. Another use case for virtualization is testing your apps. If you're an app developer for, let's say, for example, Android, you can actually run an Android OS on top of the QNAP virtualization station. Right here, I have an Android OS, and actually run. I can actually test my applications with Android. So you can actually download the Android ISO from online, and you can actually download and install that onto your QNAP, and then you can actually run an Android VM on top of the virtualization station. You can also run different VMs just to test your applications within a confined within just a single box. If you add app developer, again, for different operating systems like Ubuntu, Linux, or Windows as well, you can actually run a VM on top of the QNAP, and then start running that. You can start testing your applications for your different operating systems, for Ubuntu, or for QNAP, for Windows, for any other devices as well, without actually having to run or without having to have a physical access to the machine. Again, you can actually consolidate a lot of different devices on your network into a single VM. Again, as I mentioned before, you can instead of running a different Windows server on your network, you can actually run a VM on top of the QNAP. For Active Directory, you can run a VM for your DHCP server. You can actually run a VM for again for SQL servers. Any other different applications you're actually running on the QNAP, you can actually run that within the VM itself. So again, and we do have a few more features that I'm gonna talk about today that can give you a lot of more benefits. So first, I'm gonna just give you a brief example on how to create a VM on the QNAP. So again, to run VMs, you have to actually open up containers. I'm sorry, virtualization station, and then under virtualization station, we're gonna create. We're gonna hit create, and then once you create, you can then first name your VM. So for example, I'm gonna just create a Windows 10 VM, and just OS type. We do have a lot more options to select between. So there are many VMs that we already support, and we recommend using those VM or that you have on the QNAP that's listed right here. So for Windows, we have Windows 10 already supported, so you can run Windows 10 right here. We can actually run under legacy BIOS or UEFI. So if you're running Windows 10 or I think Windows 16 and above, I do recommend using UEFI BIOS. That gives you better performance on the QNAP as well as for any other VMs that you actually run. Now QNAP runs KVM on top of the on top of that on top of the QNAP. So KVM hypervisor is running on top of the QNAP. So you can actually run, that's how the VM is running on the QNAP itself. So, and then once you have done that, once you select the boot BIOS version or boot firmware, you can actually select the core number of cores. I'm going to select the 4-core processor. I'm going to give this Windows 10 a 4-core processor, and then just put in your RAM. And then if you are running a multiple VMs, you want to do enable memory sharing. So you can actually, if the VM is not using that much memory, it's going to actually allocate that much that memory to another VM. So all your applications, if you're running multiple VMs, all your applications are having enough memory that you can run on the QNAP itself. Now, you have to provide a CD image, the ISO file, right? So once you upload the ISO file on the QNAP, you can actually just show that ISO file right here on the QNAP. Have Windows 10 right here. Yeah. So show that ISO file, and then where you want to save your hard drive. So because it's going to create a hard drive for that VM, right? All computer requires hard drive, right? And then VM is no different, right? VM requires a hard drive, and you can store, and you have to actually mention the location of that VM where you want to store it as. So under VM, I have created another folder. You can actually create any other folder, and then on the QNAP, and then store, and then just show that location, and that's where it's going to store that hard drive. And here you can actually mention the size of the hard drive, right? So I'm going to just say it's 120 gigs hard drive. So I just want a small hard drive for this location. If you're running multiple networks, you can actually select which virtual switch that you want to use it as. You actually have to run a VM, you actually have to have virtual switch. That's how it's going to create, because virtual switch again is a switch that can actually have multiple VMs running on top of that. So QNAP will be using that switch, as well as you can run multiple VMs on top of that switch. So I have created a switch, which is virtual switch 1. I'm going to click OK right here. Now, if you're running a Windows 10 or above, QNAP does have this feature where it's going to automatically install. So you have all these prompts that come up when you install, right? Your name, how to putting your license information, putting your name. You can actually run automatically do that by QNAP. So QNAP can auto install that for you. But for this particular demo, I'm going to hit cancel. I'm going to show you a few more tips and tricks that I would like to go over. So when you create a VM, what we do recommend for performance is running it as, first of all, when you go to settings and go to settings right here, first of all, I do recommend running the, this is already the, I think this one is my newly created VM. So under settings, we recommend for networking and as well as hard drive, we recommend virtual IO. Virtual IO actually is better for performance. So under networking, you have to select work IO, which is a virtual IO for running your network card. So once you select that, add, and also for hard drives as well. For if you go to storage and you see your hard drive, instead of IDE, we recommend virtual IO. So this will give you better performance when running a virtual machine on top of the QNAP. Now, just something to note here. You can actually switch your network card from virtual IO to any other NIC after the VM is installed. But for storage, we do not recommend changing this option if your VM is already installed and you have data within the VM, because that may cause data loss. So run a virtual. So do this option before you actually run the VM for the first time. Make sure you change this to virtual IO, and then you can start your VM for the first time and start the installation process. Now, when you do this as well, you have to because you need to install the drivers for the virtual IO. So under settings, under CD drivers, I'm going to actually add, because you need a CD for your ISO file, right? So that's your virtual disk. Another disk you need to you actually have to add another disk. So under add device, you actually have to add another CD or DVD ROM and hit OK. And then once you have done that, go back to information, and you need to install. You need to add. I think. I'm sorry. Insert guest tool. So you need to actually add a guest tool within the QNAP. So once you insert guest tool, the second CD will have the guest tools, and the first CD will have your ISO file right here. Now, once you have done that, you need to edit your boot device. So QNAP needs to make sure it boots not from that guest tools. It needs to boot from the Windows ISO file. So you have to use other boot device. Make sure you change this to CD-ROM 1, which is if you look at the CD-ROM 1, which is the ISO file, and the disk 2, which is the guest tools. So going back here, you actually have to install choose the second boot device. Make sure you select the CD-ROM 1 for the first boot device and CD-ROM 2 for the second boot device, and hit apply. And then once you have done that, go back to information, and you can start the VM. So if you're going to start the VM, it's going to start loading the VM. It's going to start booting the VM for the first time. There's a few things I want to show you once the VM is started. So hang on tight, because I need to show you how to install the drivers after the VM is booted. So for the first time. And so again, as I mentioned before, you can actually run the virtual I will give you better performance. We do have this guides available on our website as well, but this is just a demo for today that I'm going to show you. While this is booting up, another feature that QNAP has introduced is migrating a VM. So let me turn on another VM right here, so we can do that as well. All right, so the VM has started for the first time. I'm going to go through a few of the prompts right here. So I'll just ignore this initial setup part. Hit next. The important part is where it's going to ask you to select hard drive, right? So custom install. So here, if you see where to install the VM, usually you can find your hard drive right here. But right, because we're using virtual IO, it's not going to find that hard drive. To find a hard drive, you have to actually click on load driver, and then you have to hit browse, and then you have to actually select the disk, the newly inserted disk that we have, and then select the operating system AMD64, and then make sure you select the virtual IO hard drive, and hit next. Once you install that, it's going to find once it's installed the hard drive driver is going to find that hard drive, and then we can start installing the operating system. So the hard drive has been found. Hit next, start the installation process. So going back here, so I have another important feature that QNAP introduced is live migration. So live migration allows you to have a VM that you're already running and applications that you're already running within the VM to migrate that to another QNAP, so you can restart the first QNAP. So if you have two QNAPs that are running on your network, you can actually migrate the VM while it's running and while your application is running into another QNAP, and then without losing that application. So right here I have an Ubuntu VM that is running. If you look at the IP address right here, actually terminal right here. Okay, so my IP address is 138.37. So if I look at terminal on my QNAP, well, sorry, my network, so let me show you the whole page, going back here. All right, so right here, I'm running a ping to this particular Ubuntu VM. So I'm going to do a live migration just to show you that your application that you're running will still keep running even if you migrate to another QNAP. So I have another QNAP right here, which is a QGD switch. And as you can see right here, it's not running any kind of VM. So I'm going to start migrating this VM to another QNAP. So hit this migrate button right here. And then you're going to, you can add another NAS. You just have to enter the IP address, username, password. I already added that NAS right here. So I'm going to select that QGD switch. It's going to check your virtualization, all that information. You just have to require it has enough processing power and memory available to run the previous VM, and SSH has to be enabled. So once you have confirmed all of that, hit next. You can add the QNAP if you have multiple disk hard drives for that particular a VM, you can actually select. You can actually have separate locations for the hard drive to be moved to another QNAP. I'm just going to move all my hard drives to a single location. So select the location on the other QNAP, which is the QGD switch. It's on I created the VM folder. Hit OK, and on the QGD switch, make sure that you already have a virtual switch on that same network, and then hit next, and then hit migrate. So now it's going to start migrating the VM onto that QGD switch. So you can right here, it's, you can see that migrating right here. If you look at the QNAP as well, it's going to show you it's migrating to QNAP right here. Now, I'm running a continuous ping from this Mac to that particular VM, just to show you that that VM would not stop running even while it's migrating and once it's done migrating. So this is another great VM migration. Again, it's a live VM migration. If you're running any applications like SQL servers or any other applications, and you worry that your application might stop running, do not worry about that. Like live migration will allow the VM to still keep running while it's migrating, and also once it's done migration, the VM will not stop running. So this particular ping, it's actually running to the Ubuntu VM. So we are almost done migrating to that VM to the new QGD switch. So right here, it's already running. So as you can see, I had networking open, right? So that page is already open. The VM is still running. And if you can see the ping status, it's still pinging, and there's no drops on packets as well. So that's another great tool that the QNAP has offered on the new virtualization called Live VM Migration. And you can use that to transfer the VM back and forth from that QNAP. So if you want to transfer the VM back, so once you transfer the VM, you can upgrade you can restart that original NAS or upgrade the firmware for the original NAS. So the Ubuntu VM has disappeared from the original NAS, and once you want to migrate back to the original QNAP, you can just hit migrate again to that new. You can hit you can follow the same steps to migrate back into the original VM to the original NAS. It's going to start migrating the NAS, it's going to start migrating this VM back to the original NAS. So that's how easy it is to migrate back and forth from the QNAP itself, back and forth between QNAP NASs. Okay, and then so going back to my virtualization. So that's how easy it is to run a virtual machine on top of the QNAP itself.
We're going to have a little change in the workshop agenda. We're going to get to part 3. We'll get started on part 3 now, and we're going to switch part 2 to part 3. So switching part 2 and part 3. Again, we're having just some technical difficulties, but we will get to part 2 just a second. So we're running a little behind schedule, so I'm going to get to just briefly what QNAP NAS. You can run it as a multimedia server. Again, you can run it as a Plex server. There's different options. You could also use it as for music buffs. You can also use it as a Roon server. But a lot of cool things that we've been doing with QNAP in the last couple of years is getting into the whole AI thing with our surveillance solutions. We've been getting into facial recognition and image recognition, location, and whatnot. One cool thing that we were getting into is the whole AI for photo management, which we will, let me dive into. Oops. Oh, can't show the screen.
Oh, you should be able to.
So one cool thing that we've been doing with our photo management app.
Okay.
Oh, all right, there we go. Sorry about that. Is well, the whole AI thing. What we've been doing is where are we at? Where's the NAS? Okay, where's my screen?
Yes.
All right, sorry about that. So with AI, again, we have a really cool feature for photo management called QMagi. What QMagi does is it's our AI-powered photo management app. It's just like, we have all of our stations, or photo station, video station, music station, but this is a whole other station on its own and a lot more. What this specific app does is, again, you can manage all your apps. We have Starting from the right, we have our timeline, where you have all your photos that you've uploaded throughout the years. That categorizes them by timeline. I have photos here dating back to 2017 when I was about 200 pounds lighter. But throughout the years, we have concerts, we have, you have your trips throughout, trips, family vacations. It categorizes everything by timeline, so you can search for all of your photos by year. Another cool thing that it does is, in regards to the whole AI part of it, it recognizes, say you have a bunch of folks, a bunch of pictures from all your family members, friends, whatnot. You can upload all your photos, categorizes them, lumps them all together by facial recognition. So you can, when you upload your photos, you can categorize each person. First it's going to give you a menu list as such as you see here. Then you can, you want to see all my pictures from my friend David here. It'll pull up all of the pictures with his face on it. But one cool thing that it does, it allows you to categorize it as well. Say, this is my dad here. Throughout the years, different evolutions of him. It'll recognize all pictures of his face. But if, say, sometimes it won't grab it, you can just add it to a folder and lump them all together. See, this is another folder of picture of my dad. So you can pretty much put them. Oh, it's not demoing. Oh. Can you see my screen? It says need a demo.
Yes.
Okay. All right, folks. Kid, it looks like there were some folks that couldn't see the demo.
No, we can see the demo.
Oh, okay. Well, somebody commented. So yeah, again, you can for sometimes if it doesn't pick up full, like different angles, like a side angle, you can categorize folks and put them all together here. So once you have all your photos synchronized, it categorizes everything by folder. So you have all your family members, all your friends. So you want to find all pictures of, this is my buddy Gonzalo, Halloween. It synchronizes all the photos together. Another cool thing that QMagic does in regards to the whole AI, it categorizes everything by things, by say from baseball, pictures with Ferris wheels. It'll capture anything with the specific thing in the background here. Very, very cool. For different food. Which is really weird. It catches like the most minute things. So here's me with a drink in hand, and it saw a glass, so it categorizes as food. Say here's vehicles, anything with a vehicle in it, it'll capture it in the background. Also, let me see here. Another cool thing that it does is it categorizes everything by location here. So it geotags everything by map. Wherever the photo was taken, it'll find it and it'll tag it here. This is Los Angeles County. All pictures taken in LA County. This is at Dodger Stadium. So it finds all the geotag info and it'll tag it. Another cool thing here is you can find photos by map. Say if you, let me see if it picks this up. We're having, again, apologize, we're having a network issue here. But you can also search for photos. It'll give you a map, and it'll pop up photos throughout all over the map. Say you took pictures, you went on your trip to Cancun. It'll give you a map of Mexico, and it'll show you where the photos were taken. It's kind of working, but it's running a little slow due to our network. But anyway, you can do that as well. What are the You can also edit edit the information of the photos. Let's see. Oh, so yeah. So you can also edit the information of the photo, say where it was taken. You know, say if you want to add the date that it was taken, sometimes it'll capture that info when you upload your photo. Sometimes it won't. You can edit the coordinates as well. Let me see. For example, from places. Say, you know, we took a picture here. You know, this is a Dodger Stadium. You can also change it even gives you, here's the coordinates. You can change the coordinates of the photo. You can edit that. You can also, it also gives you like the information of like what type of phone was taken, what type of phone the photo was taken. So the most minute details of each photo, you can QMagic finds all that information and categorizes everything together. Another cool thing that, let me see here, when you upload a photo, for example, you have, you're uploading photos, what QMagic will do is it will do like a facial recognition of the person when you upload the photo, and it'll categorize it for you. For example, I'm uploading this photo of Duval here with his daughter. A couple of boxes will pop up. You can click on the box
and search.
And you search. I'll give you a list of folks here. Yeah, there you go. Found you. So, and that'll put it in the Duval folder. So it's really I mean, it's pretty cool how the whole AI thing fits in with this. It you know, again, things, faces, locations, anything that's different categories, it'll find it for you. But again, you can manage all your photos. You can also, we also have a mobile version of it. If you download the QMagic mobile app and you take a photo on your mobile device, it'll do pretty much the same thing, and it'll upload to your NAS as well. You can also share all your photos here. So we also, again, we have Photo Station as well, but with QMagic, I mean, there's just so much smart stuff that QMagic can do. So that's, what else am I missing here? That's pretty much it. Huh?
Yeah, that's it for the QMagic.
Yeah, so QMagic, again, we're developing a lot of AI stuff with our applications. So QMagic is just kind of a small example of what we can do. We also have a bunch of other visual recognition stuff with our surveillance features as well. So you can check that out on our website as well. All right, so next we'll dive into, are we ready for part 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So part 3, we'll get back into understanding how to use QNAP as your backup destination for your computers and your Macs. Pass it over to Deval for that one.
And before we continue, a few questions I want to address that we have already in the chat is, the first question was about Virtualization Station running on running QVPN. So if you're running QVPN and you have virtualization, currently QVPN doesn't allow you to actually have multiple connect to multiple VPN servers. I'm guessing you have QNAP connect. You're using QVPN as a client, not as a server. So if the whole NAS is now part of that QVPN, wherever you have the QVPN connected to, right? Best example I can give you, if you have another NAS that's running a QVPN server and you have your first NAS connected to that QVPN as a client, the VMs can take advantage of that QVPN tunnel, and all the VM data traffic can transfer through that QVPN tunnel. But the second part of your question is, can one container VM can do one VPN? It doesn't, unfortunately, currently it doesn't allow you to do that. So all your if you're using QVPN as a client for the whole NAS, all your VMs and containers will be tunneling into that same VPN tunnel. Now, if you want to segregate your VPNs, you can actually run VPN on top of the VM. So let's say, for example, if you have Windows Server VPN, you can actually download the VPN client within, not QVPN, but whatever VPN server you're using. Windows has their own built-in VPN, right? So you can actually download a VPN and run VPN within that Windows VM, so that the Windows VM can now use that tunnel, and then another VM can use another tunnel. But if you're using QVPN client and the whole NAS is part of the VPN network, then all the VMs and containers will go through that VPN. So that's the first question. Second question, yes, we will have this workshop recorded, and we will have a follow-up email where there will be a video of this uploaded that will be provided in a few days.
Yeah, we'll send a follow-up email with the link for the workshop, so you can review the workshop after about in a couple of days. So we'll send up a follow-up to everybody who attended the workshop.
And then for CPU supported on a single NAS, how many CPU cores are supported? That depends upon the model of NAS you're using. Like the examples I have here is a TVS 872XT with I think it has a 6-core processor. That will be a 6-core for CPU. We also had another demo with 872X, which is an i3 processor, which is a 4-core processor. So we'll have 4-core. We also have NASs can go up to 16 core, also have hyperthreading as well. Hyperthreading will also allow you to add another core. So let's say if you have a 4-core processor with an 8-core hyperthread, then I think you will have 12 cores to work with. So so on and so forth. So if you have hyperthreading, that also counts as another core. So it depends upon that. It depends upon the NAS you're using and how many cores and hyperthreading cores that the NAS has. Another question we have is QBR face mask friendly facial recognition. Yes, we have mask friendly facial recognition for QBR face. I think the Golem, I think had a question about the QBR face pass, but I think you have another chat that says need to demo. So I'm thinking you need a demo for QBR face. Unfortunately, it's won't be covered for this particular presentation, but that's another great subject line we have. So maybe in the next or the next after, maybe we'll have something for QBR itself, and we'll cover QBR face and QBR Pro and other QBR applications that we have introduced in the past month or so, and we'll cover all of that together. Again, another question about workshop recordings. Yet we will have this workshop recorded. So continuing further, so as we are running late, so I'm going to do a quick demo about backup. So I think we've done backup multiple times. So I'm going to just skip through a few backup applications that are relevant for a home lab. So for a home lab, you want to make sure you have backup of your QNAP of your computers on your network, right? Your home, you have multiple Macs, Windows, and other devices, right? You want to make sure you have backup of that. If you're running an email server for your office as well, so you can run QNAP can be a backup server for that email for your email server as well. And as well, if you're running VMs, you can actually have a backup for your VMs as well. Now, so for the first part, let's say if you want to back up your computer, let's say if you have a Mac computer, you want to back this up. So what we recommend, we do have QNAP. Hybrid backup sync is the application you're going to be using to do a backup for your Mac computer. So Mac has a tool called Time Machine that allows you to back up your Mac data into the QNAP, because QNAP is acting as a time machine server. To have the QNAP as a time machine server, you have to make sure you click on, you have to open up Hybrid Backup Sync, make sure you go to Services, and then go to the Time Machine option right here. Once you go to Time Machine, we actually have older time machines that you can actually run. So we have Time Machine Shared, but it does have lower security because it uses lower Samba version. And then you have local NAS account, so which is the QNAP will use so to improve performance, or sorry, not improve security, QNAP will use its own account to back up to Time Machine. So you can click on local NAS account if you have a newer version of Mac OS. Once you have done that, hit apply. I think maybe this machine may recognize the Time Machine. So choose just once you've done this part, that's it. That's all you have to do on the QNAP end. On the Mac machine, on the Mac end, you have to go to System Preferences and then go to Time Machine Backup, and then select the backup disk. I think I have multiple networks. It may not show up here, but just select the QNAP that it may pop up here. And once you have done that, it's going to start. Then you can select, just enter the username and password for your NAS that you have on the QNAP itself. And then once you've done that, it will start backing up the QNAP to that. Sorry, it will stop the Mac will start backing up itself to the QNAP, and you can start using QNAP as the Time Machine backup. You can also encrypt the backups right here. So you can encrypt the backup. So make sure you check this box, and it will start encrypting the backup as well. So that's easy. That's how easy it is to set up the QNAP as the time machine backup. Another demo I'm going to show you is BoxSafe. If you have Microsoft 365 or Google G Suite accounts for your office or for your network, you can actually use BoxSafe to back up your emails, contacts, shared drives, all of that to the QNAP. To back up that, you have to install BoxSafe application. Again, BoxSafe is a license-free application that you can install on the QNAP, and that will allow you to back up. Again, you're not paying anything extra, and you have a backup of your emails, contacts, shared drives, everything onto the QNAP without having to pay anything extra for that backup. So you have to first add your domain account here. So I have to click on add domain, and then just like if you have a Google account or Microsoft 365, we have a tutorial on how to add to your how to create the service key and adding your domain name and email address right here. Once you have done that, just authorize that. I already have one added right here. Just click on that, and you're gonna see all your emails from your Gmail account, and also all your contacts will also be seen right here. You can see your calendars information right here. You can see your drive information right here, and this is all stored on the QNAP, right? Let's say if you deleted something important and you want to get a backup of that, you can select that email, and then you can start. You can click on restore, and it's going to restore that to that account that you have created onto the QNAP. So then it will now restore that email onto that Gmail account. Now when it restored, it doesn't go to the original location. On the Gmail, it will create a new tag called BoxSafe restore. See all these restores I have right here. This is just the restores I've done. So it's going to create a new restore tab, and it's going to name that timestamp of when you restore that email, and you can just you can see your emails. You can copy that back to your inbox or wherever the original location is, and you can delete that particular tab itself. So that's how easy it is to back up or restore email address from the QNAP. Same for contacts. If you deleted any contacts, you can restore that onto the QNAP. Again, it creates a new contact called BoxSafe restore, and then you can copy that into your main contact. Same for calendars. I don't have any calendars right here, so it's not going to show up calendars. And go to drives. You can actually see your drive information. If you have a lot of data that you haven't done to drive, it's going to copy that data, and you can restore that information. Click on restore, and it's going to restore that back to your Google Drive account, and it's going to create again for any restore you do. It's going to create a new folder or new tab wherever you're restoring with that. It's called BoxSafe _restore _ the timestamp of when you restore that data, and it's going to start that. It's going to restore the data. You can also do for shared drive. If you have shared drives within multiple users, it's going to show that information right here. Again, domain just shows you information about what's going on. Dashboard gives you information about how much data that each of the backups are using. So we have Gmail that's using 12 megabytes, and Drive that's using 12 megabytes again, or it's actually 1 megabyte, and then Gmail is using 11 megabytes of how many megabytes that it expects to download, right? It's already downloading right here. If you have backup schedules going on, it's going to show you when. So under schedule, it's going to show you when it was last successfully ran. And if you highlight that, it's going to show you if it's failed, if it has canceled, if you canceled it, if it skipped it for some reason, or if it failed. It's going to show you right here as well. If you go to settings, you can actually set up a backup schedule. You can actually set different schedules for different applications. So you can actually download Gmail data during certain days and time. You can actually download contacts during a different date and time. You can set up calendar doing so. You can actually select what data to download at what particular time, so you can control. Because if you download everything at a single given time, it's going to use up a lot of data, and it's going to use up a lot of bandwidth as well. So for the first time, we recommend doing it one account, or not one account, but one application at a time. But once you've done that, you can change it to all application, and then you can set up a schedule. Because after the first backup, the next schedule is just incremental. So it's just updating what it already has downloaded. So it's not downloading all the data all at once together. It's just downloading the updated information onto the QNAP. And you can also do versioning as well. So it's going to delete older versions after 24 months. and it will download multiple versions of the same email. Right, so that's box safe for you. And that's the last is Hybrid Data Protector. Hybrid Data Protector is an application that we have introduced that will allow you to back up your VMs from VMware and hypervisor. Now, for VMware, we recommend. So right now, there's a newer application or newer version of this application in the works and should be released pretty soon that will support virtualization as well. So you can actually use this application to also back up virtualization VMs onto the QNAP. For virtualization backup, you can just use the backup option under Virtualization Station. And you can import and export onto that particular VM onto the QNAP as well. You can, as I mentioned, you can backup. You can create snapshots for that particular VM. If you wanted to, you can clone the VM. So right now you can do that right here as well within the QNAP. But that's how you can do on the virtualization. There's also backup and restore. You can actually back up a VM. Just select which VM you want to backup, and you can also do schedule. You can also do retention of how many backups you want for that particular VM. So you can do that right here, and then you can restore that. But that's just what we have for Virtualization Station. But the Hybrid Data Protector will allow you to back up your VMs directly from here. Again, this is a license-free application that you can actually run on the QNAP without having to pay. So you can back up your VMware and Hyper-V VMs onto the QNAP itself using this application. Okay, so that is it for this for the backup demo. Before we continue, I'm gonna let's see if you have any questions. Bare metal backup is not yet supported. So if you're running it as a VM, you can run this application. It's actually running. It's gonna back up the whole VM onto the QNAP, and you can restore that to whatever. If you're running a VM hypervisor, you can restore that back to VMware hypervisor or Hyper-V. But if you're actually running a whole computer, then as I mentioned, for Mac computers, we have the Time Machine, and for Windows computers, we have NetBack Replicator. Again, it's not bare metal. It's actually just backing up your data onto the QNAP. So you have those applications available that you can actually run on the QNAP itself. So yeah, those applications are available on QNAP. All right, so that is it for that. So for a backup demo, what do we have next?
Next, they're getting into securely access your data and applications on your QNAP NAS remotely. So remote access for your QNAP VMs.
Right, that will be a simple one. So the remote accessing when you have your own home lab environment, right? You want to make sure that you can access your data remotely whenever you're on the go, right? With QNAP, you can actually have multiple ways to access your device remotely. And the first one is again, and we do provide free DDNS services that you can actually run, so actually use on the QNAP called My QNAP Cloud. So to run that application or to run that, you have to actually open up My QNAP Cloud link or My QNAP Cloud, and then you have to create an account under myqnapcloud.com. So myqnapcloud.com. And then once you have done that, just okay, so this is myqnapcloud.com, and you have all your devices right here that actually run, and then you can log into your account. Okay, so My QNAP Cloud gives you free access to the QNAP, free DDNS service that you can actually run with the QNAP, and you can actually access your device remotely as well. We also do auto router configuration if you want to open up ports. Now, if you want to access your NAS remotely, there are 3 different methods majorly that QNAP allows you to access, or we recommend using QNAP remotely, right? The first one is opening up ports for remote access. So by default, QNAP runs on port 8080 and 80 for web services. So this page runs on 8080 and 80. Basically, majorly 8080. 80 is just to 80 is if you want to run your own web server, but also uses that to actually point it directly to 8080. So, but majorly the system port is 8080. or if you want to use SSH, it's going to use 443. Now you can open up one of these two ports and you can access your NAS remotely. But for my recommendation is when you want to access your NAS remotely, we don't recommend using the system port by default, which is 8080. We recommend using anything other than 8080. So I think I have on my QNAP. So anything other than 8080, don't never use the default port. We always recommend changing the port to something else. So my system port is 8900. You can use that as well. I use SSH because I do have SSL certification from QNAP, so I use SSH. And my default port, the default port is 443, but I change it to 444. And this is what I also recommend for everyone, to make sure you change the port number to anything other than the default when you add accesses. That's the first method, right? To open these ports, and you can now access. So this is how this is my home NAS, and I'm accessing this by typing my DDNS name .myqnapcloud.com and the port number, and I can access my NAS remotely. That's the first method. The second method is if you don't have access, if you don't want to open a port, and if you don't have access to a router that can open the port, then you can actually use the MyQNAP Cloud link. So what MyQNAP Cloud link allows you to do is you can actually use our server to communicate. It's going to create a network between the NAS, or MyQNAP Cloud server, and the computer you're accessing it from. So when you transfer data, it's going to go through our server. So it's gonna be high latency. It's gonna have lower performance, but it's gonna be secure basically, because we do encryption between the computers and the NAS. So it'll be an encrypted data, but it's going to be slower and it's not going to be direct. It's not all applications are supported. So basically, to access MyQNAP Cloud link, you have to install MyQNAP Cloud link on your QNAP. So make sure you go to MyQNAP Cloud link, and then make sure you enable that information. To access your data or to access a NAS with MyQNAP Cloud link, just go to myqnapcloud.com, go to device management, and then just access your data directly from there. And once you enter your username and password, you can now access your data directly from here. You can also do different services as well. So if you have different services, you can also publish that information as well. And then on device details, you can actually see what your information is. So again, you can also share your data from here as well. So if you want to right click, and let's say if you want to share something from here, you can actually share that information. So if you want to share this to different users, you can also do that as well. The other thing you can do is, as I mentioned before, is you can open up the ports for QNAP. You can actually open up 8900 or 444, and that gives you direct access to your NAS. But again, it's not as secure, because if you don't, especially if you don't have SSL certification, then it's not as secure. But we always recommend using SSL. And for here to do SSL certificate, we also provide SSL certification from our end as well. So go to QTS SSL if you want to purchase SSL certification, and you can now install SSL. So it will be SSL. So if you look at the check, if you look at any browser, look at the lock icon, it's going to say the connection is encrypted. So all the data that's transferred between this computer and my NAS is all encrypted data. So no one can snoop in and access or get access to my data. So that's another method. And the third and the last method that you can use to access your QNAP remotely is using QVPN. QVPN allows you to I think we have installed right here. Let's see. Yeah, QVPN service. So QVPN service allows you to access the NAS remotely. And with the new, we're gonna have another workshop that goes, or another webinar, I think next month, that we're gonna introduce the new QTS 5.0, which is what I'm using right here, that introducing WireGuard. So we now support WireGuard as a VPN server, which is a very lightweight and high performance VPN server that gives you better performance over other services like QBEL, PPTP, L2PP. WireGuard is a high performance NAS, high performance VPN server, but this demo will be for a future video because we don't have that ready yet. So we expect the QTS 5 to be released sometime in October. So once that is released, we're gonna have another workshop or webinar that will cover all these new features. But again, the third way to access your NAS remotely is using the VPN server. So you can actually set up QBEL, PPTP, or L2PP on the QNAP, and then we recommend QBEL because that's more secure. And we do use SSL certifications. We do recommend, and it's multiple authentication method. You have to have a pre-shared key, also your NAS username and password. so no one can guess one or the other. So multiple ways to access your NAS. You can download applications for your Mac, Windows, and iOS and Android, and then you can access your NAS remotely. What QVPN also does is that QVPN gives you access to your whole network remotely. So if you have anything running on the QVPN, anything on your network, you can access everything else in your network as well, if you as long as you're using service. Okay.
Question here. You have a tutorial to connect using a self-certified certificate for remote HTTPS access.
We don't have tutorial right here, but we have let me share my email. Can you send me an email? I can shoot you, and I think I have another tutorial that I've created for that particular for self-signed certification. I can share that with you, and that will help you with that process itself. Just share my email. Yeah. Let's see. All right. I'm so sorry. But yeah, that is it. That's the 3 different ways to access your NAS remotely. Once you access your NAS, you can actually access all your applications. If you're running VMs, you can actually access your NAS or any VMs remotely as well. You can make changes to the VM containers or any other services that you're actually running, especially when you open the ports and you have SSL certification and you have an encrypted connection. You can actually access all your device, all your applications that you have stored within the NAS, and you can actually access that remotely. Anything you're running on the NAS, you can actually access remotely. You can actually access your VMs, your QNAP, your backup applications like Boxif, Hyper-Data Protector. You can make changes to it. You can do whatever you like. It's like you're actually next to the NAS. You actually don't have physical access. We have actually access to all the applications that you can actually run and access your NAS. So that is it for today's workshop. So we're gonna now move on to our last Q&A.
So if you have any questions, you can unmute yourself, ask your question, or you can ask it on the chat. Now it's time to do so.
With WireGuard, will QBelt? No. The WireGuard is just because WireGuard is the third. Again, it's not a QNAP. QNAP VPN services. We are using WireGuard's VPN services. So just like OpenVPN or PPTP, it's just another option that customers now have to create a VPN tunnel from your NAS to your computer. So you don't have to use QBelt will still stay and will be another option, but WireGuard is just another option as for customers. I think we have an email. I have been using TS8473 as a shared storage for LAN as a work from home setup. I have 2 voting accessing machine sharing enable and reading and writing to NAS with no listing software. When utilizing deadline, I'm getting access to permissions error. Anything I can help? I have a support ticket open. I would need a lot more information, which is best that we do. If you have a support ticket, you see my email address on top, which is dhaval@qnap.com. Can you send me an email with that ticket ID so I can see what's going on, and then I can see if I can help you with that ticket as well.
Yeah, we can follow up with our support team. With our support team, if you have your ticket number, just go ahead and email that over, and we'll follow up with the support team.
We have a question for Plex. For utilizing Plex, would Intel-based QNAPs be better for hardware transcoding, or with integrated GPU or AMD CPU as well? So AMD again doesn't have hardware transcoding right now as of yet. I think Plex is working on it. So I think hopefully we see the future with Plex, future updates from Plex will allow you to have hardware transcoding with Plex. But Plex you can actually run with again as you mentioned, you can actually run a GPU. I think you can run on a GPU transcoding. So if you have a GPU installed on an AMD CPU, you can actually take advantage of that. But we're okay. Going back to the question. I recommend Intel with hardware transcoding. I think that's better. The Intel QuickSync is much better optimized for Plex. And actually, if you look at the if you have run tests side by side, with AMD CPU transcoding, it's gonna be a lot more taxing with compared to Intel with QuickSync. Intel QuickSync runs on a very because it has a specialized chip within the Intel CPU that actually does transcoding. So the major advantage of that is your NAS is not just, if you're using a NAS for other purposes like I do, because I have an 872X and I run it for my Plex server. I also have other services running. As I mentioned, I have Home Assistance container. I have another VM for Active Directory for my home. A lot more devices are running. With Plex and Intel's QuickSync, when I run Plex, not taking that much CPU resources, so I have a lot more CPU resources available to run that VM container, QUMAG, and all those other applications. So always, I would still recommend Intel with a QuickSync would be a better option. So GS, I will look at the email. Give me few hours to get through today and then see what's going on. Is there a backup method for Container Station? Right now, we don't have anything like what we have. You can just import and export your container to another QNAP. That would be a backup option for container. So you can just import and export your container. That's your backup basically method. So you can export your container to a shared folder. You can back that up to QNAP. Another QNAP or cloud using hybrid backup sync to back up your data remotely or your container data remotely. So that the import and export is your backup method for container. We're gonna wait for 2 to 5 minutes more. If you guys have any further questions, keep shooting at us. And hopefully this workshop was helpful for you guys.
Yeah, you can also unmute yourself if
Yes.
you want to ask any questions. Feel free to unmute and ask away. How to work TeamViewer?
Oh, sorry, I forgot about that question.
Yeah.
TeamViewer is a newer application that we have on QTS5. So you can actually install TeamViewer now with QTS5. I think don't have it right here. I do have it right here. So we have a tutorial right here. Just if you already have an account, you can if you're on the same network, it will automatically find your QNAP, or see under nearby contacts, it's gonna contacts and devices is gonna find that QNAP, or you can actually add it manually by just putting this information and then assign that. We also have another tutorial that actually it goes through the same tutorial. We actually have a tutorial online that will also go through step by step. Once you have done that, you can access your NAS remotely. I think currently we have some known issues with TeamViewer right now. We are working on an update for this, so hang on tight. Again, this is just a very beta application that just released for QNAP. TeamViewer and QNAP are working to get this released with the new version, so you'll have a better connection method with new version.
Robert had a question. Is there any QNAP certification paths, and if so, where can I get more info on this?
Give me a certification path.
Is that for certification? Okay, it'll be posted on. We'll send a follow up. We'll send a follow up, and I'll have the YouTube link also be posted on YouTube. But back to Robert's question. Robert, if you don't mind unmuting yourself, if you can, please. Robert Tillman.
Yep.
Hi, Robert. Hi, how's it going?
Good.
All right. Question. So I just had a question on your question. So certification paths in regards to like becoming. Can you kind of elaborate on that a little more?
Well, we're an MSP, so looking at if there's any certifications our techs should be considering if we're looking at the QNAP product line for our client base. Just wondering if that was something that's there, sort of like a Cisco certification or any of those other type things, if QNAP had something similar.
Got it. Yes, at the moment we do not. We do have them available in other countries, and just for US, we don't have a certification actual program. But we'll definitely keep you posted if we have any progress on that. I know there's been talk about that before, but as of now, we don't have certification.
Perfect. That was the answer I thought I'd get, but I just wanted to double check because things change so quick these days. So
Absolutely. No, I appreciate the question. Yeah, we'll definitely keep you posted on that. I mean, there's been talks about that, but as of now, we don't have a certification program.
perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, we're gonna keep on track for another minute or two. So any other questions, please feel free to ask away.
We have a suggestion of backing up using Beam backup and replication into workshop. So, yeah, that's a good suggestion. Yeah, I guess we have a couple of more people that I think. So I just to understand, you guys need just a workshop or webinar type just to how to use backup and Beam backup and replication. If that's what is required, I'll look into that, and hopefully we can set up a workshop and or webinar, because we do have two types of medium that we do, which is workshop, which is what we have. We cover multiple topics together for about 2 hours or like 1.5 hour, or we have webinar, which is very short and sticks to one particular topic.
Right.
Hopefully I can get one of those two for the Beam backup and replication and get that out for you guys. Yeah, get that going to you guys. Hopefully maybe next one in December or November. Okay.
I appreciate the feedback too. If there's any topics that any of you guys would like to hear more about as well, please feel free to let us know. You can email Deval, or you can email myself. I'll put my email address here.
Cloud Sync would be just QNAP with hybrid backup sync. Is that correct with Cloud Sync? Just how to use QNAP or how to migrate your data over to cloud or backup to the cloud. Is that correct? I think that would be the Cloud Sync. Is that correct, Robert?
Sorry, I had to unmute. I was talking again and couldn't hear me. I was thinking like there's various cloud sync options. Being able to sync to Office 365 for some of it for clients as added protection or availability. I noticed something. I was late joining the session today, so I missed a little bit at the beginning. But I thought there was a cloud thing for QNAP in the possible apps there.
Yes. So we do have. Yeah, so we do have already an option for hybrid backup sync, and then we do have two options. We have backup and restore option. So I can give you a quick overview, and then we can set up another workshop specific only to this. But we have backup and restore, which does allow you to back up your NAS or back up your data within the NAS into another NAS or into a cloud service. So we do have a lot more options. Let's say, for example, if you select a folder, downloads folder, and you get, so we do have a lot of cloud servers like Amazon, a lot of block-based cloud services like Google Cloud, Amazon AWS, Glacier, another again Microsoft 365 is there again. So you can do that as well, or you can do a sync option where it will allow you to sync the data. It's one-to-one sync. Backup option does allow you to have compression as well as deduplication, which if you have multiple duplicated data within the QNAP, it's only going to copy the original data, so you can save more space. But you cannot access the data directly from the cloud. You actually have to restore that back to the QNAP to get access to the data. With sync, you can do one-to-one copy from your NAS. So you can do a one-way sync from your NAS, so onto either another NAS, or you have FTP servers, another servers, and then but your specifically cloud, we do have cloud services available, and you can back up to like a OneDrive or OneDrive for Business, Dropbox, and other services, and you can back up. It's a one-to-one copy, so in case if you want to access a NAS, let's say if you do a backup to, let's say, OneDrive, and you want to access, you don't have access to your NAS right now, but you do have access to OneDrive, you can just open up OneDrive and you can see your data. So that's just one-to-one copy from your QNAP. That's a sync option. So that's just a brief overview, but there's a lot more to cover. So hopefully we'll have another workshop that I can take to look into this.
Perfect. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Is it supported? I guess supported. Do we support a rate card?
Rate card. we don't support a rate card as I think you may need to elaborate on this a little bit more, like what's your use case or what are you trying to do actually with the rate card. I can give you better information or some workaround as well. We have another question from Keith is like backup options for certain applications. So like photo station, music station, QNAP. So there are certain applications that does allow you to backup, and there are certain applications that doesn't allow you to backup. For example, say QNAP. QNAP does allow you to does have, I think, a backup option right here under settings. You can do backup and restore. You can backup your configuration, and you can also restore that information into another QNAP as well. It doesn't do all backups, like tagging is not allowed to do tagging and other options, but there are some backup option available. Photo Station also has some backup option available as well. SBH 3 is currently not available. So again, that's another great feature that I can look into. Hopefully, I can put in a feature request for that and get that integrated with the QNAP. So under settings, if you go to a certain application, you can see a backup and restore option similar to what QNAP is saying for Photo Station as well. But some application may not support it within the QNAP. So not all application does have that option for backup and restore. Yeah. So again, this Photo Station, I think Video Station and Video Station, Music Station doesn't have any backup option as of yet. We do have a feature request going for those to be added. So hopefully those can be added in the near future. Now we're talking about.
All right, folks, we're gonna leave it open for about another 3 minutes or so, and we can get you back on your way. So any questions, please feel free to chat or unmute yourself, and you can go ahead and ask us a question, and we'll be wrapping it up soon.
For the VM functionality you ran through earlier, does it have a backup and restore function? Yes, so it does have a backup and restore option within the VM. Let me share the screen again. Can you see me? No, can you see my screen?
No.
Okay. All right. So if you go to Virtualization Station, you do have backup and restore. So you can go backup VM and then you can do a restore VM. So this is the traditional way to do backup and restore on the VM. But a newer, as I mentioned before, I think we will have a new application that's or actually we have an existing application, but we're just going to be updating that application that will actually be a better way to do backup and be restored on the VM. It's under Hybrid Data Protector. So this application will we're going to have a new version very soon to help you back up your VMs from virtualization as well. So once a new feature is released, we do recommend using this as your backup method, because it does do it does have versioning, it does have better backup method as well, and also another better restore method as well. So this would be another option that you will have in the near future. Once we release the new version, I'm going to have another webinar that will cover the new features for Hybrid Data Protector and Block Safe, again, specifically. That will cover the new features. So hang tight on that. But again, if you want to do a backup right now, just go to Virtualization Station on the QNAP and just hover over to backup and restore, and just you can do a backup VM right here. Also, for video files, if you do have H.264, you may be able to play back. So you can play back the video files using Video Station. But for a newer, for H.265 and the higher efficiency video files, we recommend Cyan Media Player that allows you to back up. That allows you to play back newer versions of video files, which are H.265 and above. Correct, because you require an H.265 license. Cyan allows us to install that license onto the QNAP, and then you can download that onto the QNAP itself. So Cyan Media Player is what we recommend for newer video files or newer versions of video files on the QNAP. Just have any questions? Any further questions?
All right. Again, if you have any questions after the workshop, please feel free to email either one of us. Looks like Robert had one more question here. Do you know if anyone has created a VM for Veeam VNR on the QNAP Virtualization Station for backup to the QNAP itself?
Oh, you're running Veeam on QNAP as a VM.
Yeah, running it as a VM and then backing up to the storage on the QNAP itself.
Actually, I haven't come across any such use case. You may possibly be able to run that and then back it up to the QNAP itself, but that may. I'm just thinking about the resource, because going to the VM back into the VM, because you cannot do direct copy from the VM onto the QNAP. You still have to go through the network. So it's just
well, normally you do, like, you'd be backing up other servers that are on the network to the QNAP storage and using the backup and replication server as the control of the jobs for that. And I was just wondering if anybody had done that or if it even made sense. So
actually, it does. Yeah, you can do that actually. I haven't come across such a use case, but you can actually you can actually have VM to enter the IP address of the NAS as a backup destination. Yeah, actually that can be achieved with VM. That should be fine. I haven't come across a scenario as of yet. I'm pretty sure somebody may be using this as just haven't come across yet.
okay, thanks.
Alrighty, folks. Well, I think that will conclude our workshop for today. We want to thank you all for chiming in, for joining us. Again, if you have any questions after the workshop, please feel left our email addresses in the chat. So please feel free to email either Deval or myself, and we'll make sure we get your questions answered. We will send a follow-up email in the next couple of days with all of the link to the workshop. Today's workshop, and just some information, some follow-up and contact information. Again, please keep an eye out for our upcoming workshops. We have them every month. We appreciate your suggestions too, so we will keep those in mind for future workshop topics. And we want to make sure we're giving you information that's valuable to you, and stuff that that keep you guys coming back for more. So again, we appreciate your suggestions. So we'll definitely keep those in consideration. And we'll hopefully have some great content coming for you next month. As Deval mentioned, we also have our webinars once a month as well. We have them about 2 weeks apart, so our webinars pretty much cover one topic. They're short, they get to the point, and our workshops are a little more interactive. We allow you to unmute yourself and ask some questions. So that's kind of the difference between our workshops and our webinars. But we also have our workshop calendar, and we'll keep you posted on that for upcoming workshops. So that's all we have for you today. Again, we thank you, Deval. Thank you very much for taking care of us, and thank you guys for joining us. And we'll see you next time. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Yes.
Bye.
Well, thank you.
Hello. Hello.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
Few days ago, I already used thickness. Now I am recent a new QNAP NES. Is it possible primary NES is QNAP and secondary is thickness? Both are replicated HBC3.
You want to? I'm sorry. You might repeat the questions. I'm sorry about that. Once again.
I have a existing NES thickness brand. Now I have purchased a QNAP NES.
Oh, so you have
primary yes. First time primary NES I can use the QNAP and secondary already used to thickness. Is it possible to replication?
You can't replicate data from
thickness.
Huh? Yeah, to another NAS. But if another NAS supports Samba or FTP, you can actually transfer data or sync data back and forth between the NAS. You have to use the HBS3 app and then use FTP or Samba or even rsync. If it supports rsync, you can do
yes.
Yeah, so you can do replication of data back and forth using HBS3. So if you look up HBS3 app, download go to sync and then create a sync. There's an rsync server option there, and then you can do replication back and forth using rsync.
Okay. First I can thickness enable to rsync, then replicate.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Now, again, if you have questions, you can always email me and we can discuss this further as well.
Thank you. Your presentation is very cool. I already see it several times.
Thank you.
I already use many QNAP NES in Bangladesh global brand private limited. Now I am.
Oh, that's good to hear. Thank you very much.
All
right, thank you very much, guys, and you guys have a great day, and thank you for joining.
Thank you.
For your workstation.